Good morning, what is up, fellow Hoops fans? Welcome back to another episode of the Last Shot NBA show here on Little Birdie TV, brought to you, as always, by our great mates over there at topsport.com.au. Now, there's a lot happening in the NBA world. There's one big return happening today. So, of course, we had to bring in old mate BK to chat all things hoops. BK, my brother, how are you, my man?
What's going on, my man? You give me every day.
Yeah. we can't do without you, man. The show just doesn't work without you. You know what I mean? Our international guests have been great. Our local guests have been great. But you're the straw that stirs the drink.
That's a high compliment.
Let's get into it, my man. We're going to start off with a team that I didn't think we were going to be talking about at this stage of the season, and that is the San Antonio Spurs, BK. I thought they were done. I thought they were dusted. I thought they had no chance of making the play-in situation. But guess what? The Lakers are so bad that they've given the Spurs a shot at making the play-in. BK, yesterday's win against the Rockets, they moved within half a game of the Los Angeles Lakers, who are currently in that 10th spot. The Spurs are in 11th. DeJounte Murray is hooping right now. He had 33, 11, and 7 yesterday. Keldon Johnson's pretty nice with it as well. He had a nice game, 21 points yesterday. I know you're a big fan of these young guys as well, BK, but that logjam between 9, 10, and 11, it's just one game between the Pelicans and the Spurs. Do we honestly think the Spurs can actually make it?
They are right there. And shout out to my most improved player of the year, Dejounte Murray. He was killing yesterday. But you're right. The logjam is crazy. You're just a couple of bad games away from being completely out of the playoff picture altogether. And the Lakers, they're in real danger, I guess, of missing out of the postseason. I mean, they've got a big game coming up against the Mavericks as well that could swing things in San Antonio Spurs' favor. Half a game is not that much. The interesting thing is the season series 2-2 between these two teams, but the Spurs own a better conference record. So a tiebreaker situation between the Lakers and the Spurs would go the way of San Antonio. So they do have the advantage there. If I'm the Lakers, I'm a little worried.
I would be worried too, actually, because like I said, 3 weeks ago or 2 weeks ago, when I think it was a 2-game lead that the Lakers had, or a 2-3 game lead. And I was like, there's no way that the Spurs can make this up. Now, not that they can't, I just didn't think that they would. But they've made it up, right? Now, if we look at the remaining games for both the Spurs and the Lakers, the Spurs have the Grizzlies. They've got back-to-back games against the Portland Trail Blazers. Then they've got the Nuggets, Wolves, Warriors, and the Mavs. So that's not an easy run home. But then you look at the Lakers, and they've got the Mavs, Jazz, Pelicans, Nuggets, Suns, Warriors, Thunder, and then the Nuggets in the last game to close out the season. So their run's not too much better either. I think this one's going to go down to the wire, BK.
Yeah, the Lakers have the second toughest remaining schedule. And then to top it all off, LeBron James injures his ankle in the previous game. So it's just going from bad to worse for the Lakers. I still think they'll hang on, but man, they're making it tough. They're going to do all this just to make the first round and have to play the Phoenix Suns. This is a lot.
Which brings me to my next question, actually, regarding the Spurs, right? So let's just say they end up making the play-in seed. They overtake the Lakers. They go in as a 10 seed, right? Even if they win that game against the 9th, I don't know if they would beat the Pelicans. But let's just say even if they win that, right, you get a first-round series against the Phoenix Suns. They're going out. There's no chance in hell that they're beating the Phoenix Suns. Are they better off not making the playoffs versus making the playoffs and losing that play-in spot, that play-in game, and then definitely losing a playoff round if they progress past that? Like, wouldn't you rather be in the lottery if you're the Spurs than making the playoffs?
I kind of lead towards making the playoffs because I think you can't discount the value of that experience for these young guys. We just have to look back at what the Memphis Grizzlies did, being a playing team, to then beating the Warriors in the play-in the next season, to then, doing what they're doing now. You get these young guys that experience and just that confidence that, hey, we are a playoff team as we are, even though we are a young team as constructed. I think that does wonders, especially for guys like Murray that have been on this ascension. It kind of, he's an all-star now. They've got guys there that are going to make up the, I guess, core of their team for years to come. So I think there's value in that playoff experience, just from a confidence standpoint for these young guys, even if it does hamper your draft stock, which, ultimately can come down to, lottery type situations anyway. I think the experience is more valuable.
You bring up a valid point, BK, and I think I was kind of leaning towards I think you're better off just missing the playoffs. But you've switched, you've changed my mind there. You bring up a valid point, BK. And this is why we have you on the show every day now.
Let's not forget, these are basketball players that want to win games. This is what we're doing here. We can't get too much into front office GM mode and looking ahead. The guys on the court, they want to win. They want to play.
Yeah, very true. Very true. All right, BK, moving on to another team now that could be in a bit of strife. Now, this segment, we've got to thank you for this as well. This segment is called The Chicago Bulls, Are They Fucked? Right? Because you and I were speaking about the Bulls yesterday. They're just 5-11 since the All-Star break, BK. They have not been playing good basketball at all. Overall, I believe they're 0-16 against the top three teams in both conferences. This does not bode well. Now, they've had the most games missed this season due to injury and or COVID. So that's been a factor for them, BK. But now they're starting to get guys healthy. I believe only Lonzo Ball is the only one out of their major guys that's not available right now. Caruso came back. He was a big loss for them, especially on the defensive side of things. Now, in their last 10 games, they're just 4-6. They're averaging 105 points a game, but they're giving up 112 or just under 100. I think it's 111.9, BK. The defense hasn't been right in a minute. What's going on with the Chicago Bulls?
I think they might be in some trouble. As you said, defensively, they've really fallen off a cliff. And they've gone from being, they were the number one seed, looking like the most dominant team in the league, at the midway point of the season. I think they've gone about 17-20 since then. And now all of a sudden, they may not even be a guaranteed spot in the postseason. They're a game ahead of the Raptors, who are flying at the moment in 6th, and then the Cavs another 2 games ahead of them in 7th. So if they keep this kind of slide going, like there's teams behind them that could leapfrog over them. But I'm a little worried about the Chicago Bulls. Lonzo Ball, he did have a setback, so we don't know if he is going to return in time for the playoffs. But I mean, even without Lonzo Ball, they still have enough talent out there, to still be considered one of the best teams in the Eastern Conference. But they really have to get it together on the defensive side of the floor. I mean, I know Caruso does help in that regard, but it also does show you how valuable Lonzo Ball was for them this season on the defensive side of the floor, because his numbers don't necessarily leap off the page at you, but his impact has definitely been felt. Just ask the Bulls. Yeah, well, I mean, that's their 2 best perimeter defenders right there, Alex Caruso and Lonzo Ball. Lonzo's got that length. He's got the long arms where he can disrupt on the defensive end, the defensive side of things as well. If things remain the same, I think they play the Celtics, right, in a first-round matchup, which you don't want to play the Celtics first up in a playoff series. They definitely wouldn't get – I don't think they would get past the Celtics. The games that they've got left, they've got the Wizards, Clippers, Heat, Bucks, Celtics, Hornets, and Timberwolves. So things aren't exactly easy for the Chicago Bulls in that run home either. I've been watching Bulls Twitter all season, and a lot of Bulls fans have kind of been waiting for that drop-off, right? Like, because they started so well, and I guess Bulls fans are just kind of like Knicks fans, where they sort of know what their team's going to do. So the Bulls started so well, and they were expecting that drop-off. They didn't quite get it, but it just seems that they're getting it now at the wrong time of the season. Yeah, look, they've been hurt before. They've had a rough go of things over the last few years. So, I don't blame them for not getting their expectations up too high when they were flying earlier in the season. But I don't know. I mean, DeRozan's still playing incredibly well. I mean, Vucevic has sort of come back into his own a little bit as well. I mean, you say all that and then they lose to the Knicks. So it's a tough one for the Chicago Bulls. But yeah, you're right. They probably are looking at a pretty tough first round situation there in the 4-5 matchup. I think regardless of who finishes in that fourth slot, because it could be any one of the Heat, Sixers, Bucks, or Celtics. And I don't know if I take the Bulls over any of those teams.
I definitely don't. And you're right. It could be any one of those because there's a log jam at the top of the East. There's a log jam at that bottom half of the East as well. The East has been really, really fun this season. We'll see what happens, man. These closing games are going to be really interesting. And again, I said it on the last episode, shout out to the NBA for, this whole play-in thing, because it's really brought a lot more interest to these end of season games, because prior to that, a lot of these games just really didn't matter. People weren't really interested in them. So at least we're watching. We're really interested. We're invested in these things now. So shout out to them. All right, let's move on to the big news of the morning, and that is the return of Paul George after 3 months away with that ligament tear in his right elbow. Paul George is back. He's playing today, BK. This is huge. Ty Lue indicated yesterday that Paul George was able to practice 5-on-5. He said that he was going to do it. That was over the weekend. He said he was going to do it again on Monday in America, which was Tuesday here yesterday. He's been cleared to play today. BK, how huge is this?
This is a game changer for the Clippers. I know they're pretty much locked into that 8th seed in the play-in standings, but this is just enough runway time for them to kind of really bring Paul George back into the team. And look, they need it. Since Paul George went out, their offense has cratered. I think they've got the 25th ranked offense in the league in terms of points per 100 possessions. So bringing a guy like Paul George back in, who's a high usage guy, he's a big factor in their offense. It just makes a huge difference for them, especially if he's back now. He gets some runway time, and then he's ready for the play-in situation. That almost, to me, guarantees them, going into the playoffs. That's how good Paul George is. I know we get these jokes off about Paul George, but let's not pretend he's not one of the best players in the league.
No, that's right. People do forget about that because of those internet jokes. But Paul George is one bad man when he's actually on the court. The Clippers, he missed 43 games. The Clippers were 19-24 in that time span. So they definitely need him back. The advantage that they've got, and what I like about the Clippers, I guess, strength through adversity, is that they're secure in that 8th spot, right? Because I think they're like 4 games behind the number 7 seed. I think they're about 4 games ahead of the number 9 seed. They're pretty. They're locked. They're not going up. They're not going down. They're remaining there. So you can bring in Paul George now, get those reps in for him in those last few games of the regular season. Look, you're likely going to have to come up against a pretty strong team if you make it past that, first play-in game. So you're not going to go too much further than that, especially if you don't have a Kawhi or Norman Powell, because we don't know when either one of those guys is coming back as well. So it's going to be tough for them. But just the fact that you can get those reps in for Paul George now, and then look forward to next season with what you've already built this year, I think is pretty exciting for the Clippers.
And there is also some rumblings about Kawhi Leonard potentially coming back after the play-in. I mean, we hear this a lot with Kawhi. I mean, the date for his return gets pushed back, brought forward, so we don't really know how much weight there is to it. But if there's a situation where the Clippers make the play-in, advance to the playoffs, and then bring bring back Kawhi Leonard for a first round series, that flips everything on its head. I mean, they'll likely play, the 2 seed Grizzlies there in the first round as a 7 seed. That's not cut and dry if you have Paul George and Kawhi Leonard back out on the court for the Clippers.
BK, so do you like the Clippers in a matchup against the Grizzlies with those 2 guys?
Honestly, I do. I know the Grizzlies are great. I love the Grizzlies, but if you have Paul George and Kawhi Leonard in a playoff series, the playoffs is different. The playoffs is not run up and down the court, open transition game. This is a half-court game, and these are 2 of the best half-court operators in the league. So all of a sudden, that does change things. I would still probably take the Grizzlies if I had to bet, but it's complicated then if you have both Kawhi and Paul George out there. These are guys who have been there before. They're experienced guys. This is no joke. But again, That's asking for a lot of things to go right. And then, of course, Norman Powell as well. In a best case scenario, you get all the Clippers back healthy. We got ourselves a series.
Look, that'll be interesting, right? Because just given the Clippers season, like I said, 19 and 24 without Paul George, it's a testament to, I think, Ty Lue, because I think Ty Lue's a pretty good coach, and the rest of that guys on the roster, that they've been able to maintain the position that they're in right now. Because if you take Paul George, Kawhi Leonard, and Norman Powell off teams, they're heading straight to the lottery, and the Clippers are sort of maintained. So it's going to be interesting, man. Again, these late season games, they matter, and guys coming back, it's super, super fun to watch. All right, BK, we're going to get out of here. There's 5 games on the NBA schedule today. We're going to start off with the team that we just questioned whether they're fucked or not, and that is the Chicago Bulls. They're playing the Washington Wizards. The Bulls are favorites here, $1.56. Wizards, $2.48. The line is at 4. Total is at 223.5. Live on League Pass, BK. Bulls playing second night of a back-to-back following that loss to the Knicks. Gang, gang. They're now tied with Toronto. They're in equal fifth. Both teams are at 43 and 32. Like we mentioned, the Bulls just 5 and 11 since the All-Star break. 1 and 3 in their last 4 games. They need this W today, especially with that logjam. Washington actually beat the slumping Warriors couple of days ago, so they're not to be taken lightly either. BK, who do you like in this one?
Hey, this is a must-win for the Bulls. They can't afford to drop too many more games through the regular season, so I'm a rock with them in this one. They need this game.
Yeah, I'm with you as well, because I think if they drop this one here, then just stick a fork in them, because they're going to be cooked. They're not beating anybody in the playoffs. I don't care who it is. So no Kuzma as well for Washington, so that's going to play a factor. I'm going with Chicago on the road. Next game we're going to take a look at. This one's probably going to be the best matchup of the day for me. Milwaukee Bucks, Philadelphia 76ers. Both of these teams jostling for position in that top half of the Eastern Conference. The Bucks $1.87. Philadelphia 76ers $1.96. The line's at 1. Totals at 232 flat. Live on League Pass. 2 versus 3 matchup. Both teams 46 and 28 on the season. 76ers lost to the Suns on Monday. The Bucks lost to the Grizzlies on Sunday. Now, this is the big key. As of late last night, Giannis was listed as day-to-day, BK. One, have you seen anything different this morning to suggest that he's playing or not playing? And 2, who do you like?
Yeah, that's a tough one. I'm not sure if Giannis will suit up, but either way, I think I'm going to go with the 76ers just because Joel Embiid, I don't know who's stopping him on that team, even with Giannis in there.
Yeah, look, my man Brook Lopez is back. He's been back, but yeah, he's not stopping Joel Embiid down that end of the floor.
But this is a big opportunity for James Harden as well, because we've seen him in some, quote unquote, big games so far this season for the Sixers, and it hasn't been good. This is another nice test.
Not just this season, mate. His whole career. His whole career. He just goes deuces and he vanishes. He did it against the Phoenix Suns the other day as well. James Harden, does not turn up for these big games. I'm going with the 76ers at home as well. Again, like you said, regardless of whether Giannis plays or not, no one's stopping Joel Embiid. 76ers are at home. They're going to have that momentum. I like them to come away with the W. Next game we're going to take a look at here is the Lakers and the Mavericks. Look at this one here. The Mavericks, $1.12 favorites. The Lakers, $6.50. Lines at -11.5. Total, 219.5. Live on NBA League Pass. Mavs just 1.5 games behind the Warriors, and they've definitely got the Warriors in sight, given the games that Golden State is dropping. Lakers need wins. I feel like I've been saying this all season. They drop a game to the Pelicans. They probably needed to win that one quite desperately the other day, despite the 39 from LBJ. You mentioned he's got that ankle thing, so he's actually listed, BK, as doubtful, but surely he plays today. Like, unless they amputated that leg and that ankle, surely LBJ plays this game.
No, he hurt his ankle and played the rest of the game against the Pelicans, dropped 39. Like, how many times have you seen LeBron just tighten his sneakers and just keep playing? Like, it's crazy. Like, that looked like something you should have to sit down for. And he said it felt horrible after the game. But the Mavs, they're flowing at the moment, man. They look really, really good. Dinwiddie's been great for them, and they've got their sights set on home court advantage and tracking down the Golden State Warriors. The Warriors are in the mud at the moment without Steph Curry, so they can kind of smell blood in the water there to try and get that 3 seed. So I've got to go with the Mavs in this one.
BK, I agree with you. That's 3 out of 3 today. I think the money is right on there because, I actually don't think, even with LeBron playing, and we don't know if he's going to be at 100% with that ankle, I just don't see the Lakers winning today. Second last game we're going to take a look at. Detroit and Brooklyn. Again, here, the money is bang on. There's no chance in hell Detroit is winning this game today. The Brooklyn Nets, $1.08. Detroit Pistons, $8.50. Lions at -14. Total 233.5. BK. The only question for this game is how much will Brooklyn win by? Like I said, there is no chance in hell Detroit is winning this one here. They do need to create, Brooklyn that is, need to create some separation between them and Charlotte. Pistons have lost 2 in a row. They're just 8-29 on the road. BK, how much are the Brooklyn Nets winning by?
Curry might score 100 tonight. Yeah, this one's this is a big game for the Nets in terms of, as you said, the playing seeds down there are getting tight as well. So they need to win this game, and I think they'll do that pretty easily. Yeah, pretty easily. All right, last game we're going to take a look at, BK, and then we're getting out of here. We've got the Utah Jazz, Los Angeles Clippers. Clippers, slight favorites here, $1.85. Utah Jazz, $1.98. Lions at -1. Total is at 218. This one's going to be on ESPN today. Jazz are on a 4-game losing streak. Clippers are on a 5-game losing streak. But as we've mentioned, PG is back for them. Clippers, like we said, secure in 8th. Jazz are 1 game back of Dallas in 4th. And they're 1.5 a game in front of Denver, who are in 6th. So there's a lot to play for the Jazz. Obviously, we know the Clippers have a little bit to play for as well. No Hassan Whiteside for the Jazz. Greg Monroe is day-to-day, as is Rudy Gobert. BK, who do you like? I kind of like the Clippers in this one, just riding the Paul George momentum from this game. I don't know. The Jazz have not been impressive in recent weeks. No, that's 4 out of 4. I agree with you, BK. Yeah. I think that return of Paul George is really going to, give that team a little bit of a confidence booster today. Just having him there, even if he plays at 70%, I'd take 70% of Paul George over most players in the world. So I'm going to go with the Clippers. I also just don't like the Utah Jazz, man. I really don't. They're in the same category as the Orlando Magic for me. They did our man Joe Ingles dirty. Get him out of here. Get him out of here. I wish the NBA had some relegation. We can maybe relegate the Utah Jazz. All right, so we've agreed on the picks today. We're going to see how things pan out. That was 5 out of 5 for us today, BK. We're going to catch you again on Friday morning. I'm sure there's going to be a lot more to talk about because it just doesn't stop in the NBA. So we'll catch you Friday. This has been another episode of The Last Shot NBA show here on Little Birdie TV, brought to you by our good friends at topsport.com.au. We'll catch you guys Friday morning.